This is the Moto G Power 2022 disassembly. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure you subscribe and follow me on Twitter so you'll be notified when I upload a new video. And if you need any tools, there are links in the description. To start off, the SIM tray needs to be removed. Here's a better look at that. Next, we need to place a plastic pry tool in between the back housing and the frame of the screen and run it along the edges to pop off the catches. Once the catches have all been popped off, there's some adhesive around the fingerprint sensor as well as around the camera lens covers, so you're going to have to hold down on the fingerprint sensor and gently peel off the adhesive underneath by prying off the back housing. Here's a better look at the plastic back housing. There are numerous antenna flex cables on the inner portion of the back housing, as well as some graphite film to help transfer heat. At this point, there are 19 T5 or Torx 5 screws which need to be removed. Now the top plastic cover can be removed. The glass camera lens covers can be replaced by applying heat and gently prying them off. Here's a look at the other side. Once we have access to the battery cable, we're going to disconnect that first. Now we can proceed to disconnect the rest of the cables. There's a black coaxial cable on the bottom right side of the board that needs to be disconnected by just popping it off. There's some graphite film covering the front-facing camera connector that needs to be peeled off, so we can disconnect and remove that. Here's a better look at the 8 megapixel front-facing camera. There's a single T5 or Torx 5 screw on the bottom right side of the board holding it down that needs to be removed. Now the main board can be lifted up and removed. On the main board, there's a 2 megapixel depth camera, a 50 megapixel primary, and a 2 megapixel macro lens. None of the cameras have OIS or optical image stabilization. And the camera connectors can be disconnected by just popping them off. The LED flash is located next to the primary camera, and the headphone jack is located next to the depth camera. There's also a rubber gasket around the headphone jack. There's a secondary microphone on the other corner underneath the shield, some copper tape over the front shields, and there's a liquid damage indicator sticker, which is this white sticker next to the macro lens. The proximity sensor is located on the back, as well as the SIM card and memory card reader, and there's thermal paste and copper tape on the back shields. Once the removable back shields are removed, we can see more thermal paste on the RAM and processor, as well as this chip over here. Here's a better look with the thermal paste removed. The bottom speaker assembly can be lifted up and removed. Here's a better look at that. Now this flex cable, as well as the other end of the coaxial cable, need to be disconnected from the subboard. Then there's one T5 or Torx 5 screw holding on the subboard that needs to be removed. Now the subboard can be lifted up and removed. There's a rubber gasket around the charger port itself, another liquid damage indicator sticker, which is this white sticker here, and the primary microphone is located underneath the shield. Here's a look at the other side. When it comes to removing the battery, there are no pull tabs provided to help us pry it off, so we're going to have to use some isopropyl alcohol and apply some to the edges of the battery and let it sit for about 30 seconds to a minute, so it eats away at the adhesive underneath, making it easier to pry off. Here's a better look at the 5000 mAh battery, and the adhesive underneath the battery is extremely strong, so you're going to have to take some time prying it off. Now that the battery is removed, we can see this flex cable which is right through an opening in the mid-frame, which connects the subboard from down here, as well as the screen to the main board. So if you needed to replace the screen, you'd have to remove the back housing, and then you need to remove the screws on the top and bottom cover and remove those covers. You'd have to disconnect the battery cable as well as this flex cable from the main board. Then you need to pry the battery off, as well as disconnect the cables from the bottom subboard and remove that subboard. And then you'd heat up the front of the phone where the screen is to loosen up the adhesive underneath, pry your old screen off, apply new adhesive, reapply your new screen, making sure you run both of these flex cables through the openings in the mid-frame, and reassemble your phone. For the repairability score on this phone, I give it a 4.5 out of 10. Now it's time to put the phone back together. Once everything's back in place, reapply the back housing. Flip over the phone, power it on, and you're done. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.